All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. I wanted to give you a little time to get kind of settled and log on, and the people who are going to be here today. So thank you. So this is going to be a unique experience. I just kind of came right into town dealing with my own trauma experience that I've had to work with. So this is going to be kind of a live, in the moment, having to deal with stuff. And sometimes life is like that. And that's why I want to teach these skills to you, because you never know when you're going to have to deal with something like that. And so I just think it's a really good example of how life comes at us fast. Sometimes we need to know how to deal with it. So I'm going to change the viewing here. There we go. That's a little bit better. So thank you, Jacqueline, for being, and John being here. I appreciate it. I have quite a few people that wanted to watch the replay, but they're in places like England and Australia, and so they can't be at this time zone. And so they asked me to, when we record it, to then turn it over and be able to send it to them. So I appreciate that we have the ability to do that. So take a deep breath and kind of settle in. So what I want to teach you today is some skills on how to deal with traumas and stress and anxiety in your life, because like I said, it comes up and you don't know when it's going to hit. So just take a deep breath, because I need to do this for myself too. Okay, so we're just, sometimes people call it meditation. Sometimes people say it, hunkering down isn't one of the words I like so much, but we're just being aware of putting back our mind, body, and spirit together at the center core of us. And however we do that, but it's just, in some ways, just taking a deep breath, letting that go all the way down into our diaphragm and letting it out. All right. Thank you for letting me do that, because I need to be present for you. And so that helps me know how to center. So let me introduce myself. I'm Jody Coldgrove, and I do a modality called quantum techniques. And I'm on a mission to really help you choose your God-given way to take care of your health. And whether that's better sleep, getting better digestion, helping you feel secure in your body, making you be aware of the communication that your body's giving you every single day on what it needs for that balance. So when we have the ability to have good sleep and good digestion, then that's when we really can start having energy and health and happiness. And that's where it begins. And it is like that mind, body, spirit connection all together, letting you have the life that you so richly deserve. And a lot of times if we don't have that, we feel disconnected, and it's just like we can never kind of get back on balance. And so I think that's really important. When we do connect with ourselves, we do know what we're saying and connecting how to know that. So appreciate you wanting to take that journey with me. It was definitely a journey. So I do a healing practice called quantum techniques, which is a modality of energy medicine.
What now, Pops?
All right, so we've got some, just want to make sure that people are on mute. Looks like they are. And we've got some more people joining us, so thank you. All right. Anyway, so I use energy medicine and muscle testing and EFT and several different modalities called quantum techniques that really help communicate with the body what it's trying to communicate with us. And so it helps us be able to listen. And when we're able to listen, then we know what we can do for our body to make it better. So I've got my water here today. I usually drink out of filtered water, but this is what I could grab in the moment. But what I'm involved in is helping people get their health and happiness back. And so like I said, I work with clients with digestion and food issues, food toxins, allergies, diabetes, hypertension, anxiety, fibromyalgia, weight, trauma, relationship issues, money issues, whatever it is, trying to find out, okay, what is the root cause of these in our lives? What are the beliefs that we have? What are the traumas that keep these kind of going? And a lot of times people say that they have things that kind of keep recurring. You're like, why can't this just stop? A lot of times we have generational issues, we have belief systems, we have intentions and emotions that all kind of keep those going. And so when we're able to identify how they're all linked, then we can let them go. All right. So it's important for me to empower you with that knowledge and the desire to never give up on your health and happiness, and to never just surrender what is less than you deserve, that God gave you for a great life. And so let's get started. All right. So I was going to give some stories of some traumas in my own life that I had to deal with, where I found this particular modality of clearing traumas to be very, very helpful. And so the one that was the biggest for me is that I love to ski. And so we went on a skiing vacation, and I've been skiing since the age of 3, same resort. And so I was skiing down the mountain, and I decided I really wanted to do this one hill that had moguls on it. And so I was skiing down, the powder was great, but it was one of those, if you've ever been skiing, they had these sticky snow. And so there were big piles as people had gone down before. And so with the moguls underneath. And so as I came up one mogul, I crossed my tips and I went over. Well, unfortunately, I had very old skis that I had not fixed the bindings on for quite a few years. And so they weren't adjusted correctly to release. And so they did not release. And unfortunately, my leg released. And so I had a tibial plateau fracture. And so I landed in the snow, and I knew that I hurt, but like all when we all go into trauma or shock, at the moment, I couldn't quite feel the pain, but I knew that something was wrong, and I couldn't, quite move and stuff like that. So I just kind of laid there being quiet, and I said, well, your mind's like, okay, what can I do? And, oh yeah, the trauma code. And so I started repeating the trauma code, and it helped me just be able to relax, to deal with the situation in the moment. And so, yes, when they took me on down the mountain and got me secured and looked at the leg and stuff like that, and I had to go get through surgery and couldn't put weight on the leg for 3 months. And I had a 15-month-old baby. And so I couldn't lift him, couldn't change diapers, couldn't drive. And so I give loving kudos to my husband for helping take care of me in that situation, and taking care of our son through that, and working. It was many blessings that we got through that time. And there's a lot of, going through all the rehab to get mobility of the leg back, and being able to kind of sit down on my knees again and be able to bend, your knee 100%. Yeah, it was tears. I mean, I really cried, and there was almost like this emotional connection of, can I trust my body again to be able to walk? And I was really surprised at that kind of connection that came up for me. So throughout all this, I really did use the trauma code to get through the different areas that I had to work through in order to get through the situation. So that's maybe a little bit extreme, but it was definitely like any kind of car accident you might have, but also the emotional part of having to learn how to walk again and trust your body to do that. There may be other times, that I've used it. Where I live now, we have a lot of tornado warnings, and so trying to get through a tornado warning with repeating the trauma code is a way of just being able to center and breathe through it and be okay. So I wanted to read something that I found very helpful when thinking about anxiety, stress, and trauma. But I think it really explains what's happening in the body and why this modality works. Okay, so stress, anxiety, and trauma create a physical and a non-physical response. Trauma overwhelms the nervous system and its capacity to process the experience. Pieces of that experience are left unprocessed, frozen behind in both your body and your mind. And anytime a flow of energy goes through these areas, the person will experience trauma again. So an example for me is we did have a tornado go through our town on Easter Sunday a couple of years ago. And it was kind of, I was not quite prepared because the town had never had one. And it was like, well, it's kind of, you know, it was pretty close, about 5 miles away. And so I noticed that when tornado season would come again, my sense of anxiety would raise when that would start again. And so I really had to work on clearing that. So that's an example of when that kind of energy or that time and space passes through you again, you will get kind of that same response. You know, if you had gone on vacation and had an issue on vacation, sometimes if you go on vacation again, those old feelings or that anxiety will surface. So it could be time, it could be space. In other words, what you're doing is repeated, or an activity is repeated. So just being aware of how your body responds because it's like and similar. So one of the examples, and I kind of gave my personal example, but there's another example of, you know, driving on a road when you've had a car accident. Our bodies hold the pattern of the trauma. When we deal with trauma, we can become more resistant human beings. I'm not saying it right. We become more resilient human beings. And that's kind of what it is. It's you're being able to handle what comes your way again. And so you're laying down almost this road on how to behave and how to process and deal with things. And it's a practice. I like something called Neuro from Guy Finley. And it helps me remember how to do that kind of connection. But it's basically saying when something happens, you're looking out at it through a window, but you're also looking at it as a mirror, reflecting back to you. Now that I'm in this situation, how am I going to respond to it? What is it saying about me? What can I learn from this? And so there's kind of this dual access happening in any situation that kind of when your anxiety is raised or stress is raised. And so just being aware of your response and almost taking like a kind of backing up and observing it. And that's the whole neuro issue of it. So I hope that made that explainable. But that was really helped me be able to calm down and be able to see what's happening in the moment instead of just responding. It's kind of that whole idea of responding to a situation instead of reacting to a situation. So what I wanted to do today, and that I can talk all I want about how this modality works, but it really works in real time. So I wanted to walk through with you these points. And I think my intent was that I had created a visual to be able to do this. It might take a little much too time to pull up, but I'm sorry about that. So let me. I need the back of my drawer here. Okay, so I want you to kind of just take another deep breath and kind of connect with yourself. And my intent with these is I want you to experience the shift and the change and be able to work on something that you are dealing with now. And because that's the best time is to heal is in the moment. And what I love most about this modality is that you don't have to relive all of the issue, everything, the whole story. You can, because healing happens now. It doesn't happen with the story. And sometimes when we pull up the whole story, we re-traumatize ourselves. And so that's really what I love most about this particular modality. So I just want you to kind of center in. My intent is to, if you have something that you want to work on today, to think about that and to process that so we can have you shift today. So that's really important. So I want you to think of a time. Oh, first, I'm sorry. Let's just take a nice deep breath so we can kind of center in and so we know what we want to work on. All right. So I want you to think of a time when you had stress, anxiety, or emotional pain or trauma in your life. So those can be, having to go to court for a traffic ticket. They could be arriving on the scene of an accident. You could be in an argument with your husband or your significant other. It may be angry words that you spoke with your child or your teenager. It could be a situation at work. We have an angry customer or a negative email or a bad phone call. We had a waitress this morning where the people that she was serving were just really not nice and complaining about everything. And she came over and she's like, oh, man, they're still in my joy today. And I said, well, let's help you get back your joy. And she left with a smile on her face. And so, but anyway, we all have those kind of interactions in life. And so think of one that may be bothering you today. It could be a death of a family member or a pet. It could be going through 2020 and everything that's happened in our world today. So I want you, each of you, to think of something you want to work on today. And then I want you to, I wanted to make sure you, could raise your hand, let me know that you have your memory. I want to make sure that we have that. And so there is a reaction screen that you can respond to. If you know how to use, it takes a while for everybody to learn how to use Zoom, but hopefully you have one. So John, I see that you have one. Okay, and Jacqueline has one. Okay. And so Paula, do you have one too that you are thinking about? Look at the chat. Okay, great. Thanks. All right. Okay, so so Paula, hopefully you have found one that you want to work on too. Okay, so so once you have that, I want you to get a clear picture of the circumstances and the feelings that you had. And what we want to do is want you to rate the stress, the anxiety, the trauma. What are you feeling? Is it on a scale of 1? Not so much. On a scale from, or at the top would be a scale of 10. Okay. And so I'm finding my own. All right. And so I'm at about a 7. And so I just want to make sure that each one of you has a rating. So if you could let me know in the chat what your rating is, that would be helpful. Does everybody have a number that they want to work on? Or they have what it would be? Okay, so 7, okay. And Paula, you have a number 2. Okay. So then I'm going to share with you the sequence, okay? And like again, I created a great thing from this, but it's going to take me so much time to pull it up and fiddle with it. I would want us to be in the moment with this. So I'm going to have you walk through with me the sequence of what to touch. So these are acupressure points on the body, kind of like EFT, if you're familiar with that, that helps. Each point is connected to a particular organ or gland in the body. And we find that when you do this particular sequence, it's connecting all those meridian points or those points that have an origin of the organs, and they're doing it in a certain order that helps it clear that anxiety and that trauma. So go ahead and follow along with me. So the first one we're going to touch is we're going to touch eyebrow, or the start of the eyebrow. So right in the, like on either side of the eyebrow. Okay. The next one we're going to touch is the index finger. Okay. It's like on the top. The next one we're going to check is the little finger, also kind of on top. Then we're going to do side of hand. Okay. Then we're going to go back to the side, to the top of the eyebrow again. Then we're going to do under eye. We're going to do top of the middle finger. Okay. Then we're going to do side of hand. We're going to do index finger. We're going to do outside of eye. And then under the arm and collarbone. Now I'm touching, but you can tap it. Okay, so a lot of times with EFT you're tapping, and so either way is fine. So I'm going to run through this again. Okay, so eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit, and collarbone. And obviously, collarbone can be do either side. And you can also do either side of the face or either hand. Does not matter. Okay, so I want to run through it one more time. So eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit, and collarbone. All right, so take a deep breath. Now I want you to go back to the picture of a stressful situation that, or anxiety or trauma that you chose in your life. I want you to find out, how thinking and checking in, how do I feel? Where are you now on a scale from 1 to 10? Okay. Are you still at a 7? Have you dropped now to a 3, 5? So where are you? So if you could go ahead and enter where you're at. For me, I'm about a 5. Okay, so John's at a 4, great. All right. Jacqueline and Paula, where are you guys at? Paula's at a 3, great. Jacqueline, hopefully you have decreased 4. Okay, Jacqueline's at a 4 too. Okay, so I like to have it kind of more down to a 1 or a 2. So let's go ahead and process again. Like I said, I'm at a 5. So I'm still got some stuff that's stuck in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it again. We have eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, outside of eye, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit, and collarbone. Okay. So I'm going to do it again. Eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit, and I'm going to do it one more time. I'm only at a 4 still, so I haven't kind of dropped down. And kind of want to, I was going to cover it just a little bit, but I just want to be aware sometimes when you don't drop a lot, what you're thinking of is a different aspect of the stress or trauma. So in my particular situation, I was seeing how I was feeling. Well, then my mind shifted to thinking about the other person's situation and how they're responding. And so that kind of like almost like brought me up again, because it's like their emotions and feelings are impacting me, and a little bit of stress of like, well, what do I do with this? Okay, so you can have different aspects. Another example to kind of help you kind of understand that a little bit is, let's say that someone is in an armed robbery, and so they're in a gas station and someone comes in with a gun, and so they remember visually how everything happened. But then if the gun was shot, they may think not of the visual, but the hearing of it and how they heard it and how they felt. And that's a different aspect than the visual part of it. So sometimes your body, as it's clearing the layers of the trauma and stress, shift to a different aspect. So that's why that will come up. So let's do that again. So eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit, and collarbone. I'm going to do it one more time. So eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit, and collarbone. Let's just check in and take a deep breath. I take deep breaths sometimes. Yeah, you're taking a deep breath, but then there's so many mantras that talk about breathing up 4 and then down 4. I kind of get into that rhythm. So sometimes it's just taking a nice slow breath is helpful also. So I just want each person to check in again and see where you're at with your specific situation and where you're at. And let me know what your number is. So you're thinking about what happened, how do you feel, and let me know what your number is. So John's at a 1. So it was a 2 and then went up back to a 3 when I thought of a different aspect. Yes, great, Jacqueline. Okay, and Paul is at a 2. Okay, so I'm probably also at about a 3 still. Okay, so for me and Jacqueline, I would like to do it one more time and see if that will kind of bring us down to a 2. Okay, so eyebrow, and you can always, other people, you can always bring it all the way down to 0. So it's not that it's, you need to stay at a 1 or 2. So eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit, and collarbone. I do it again. Eyebrow, index finger, middle finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit. Again, go ahead and check in. I'm down to a 1, so I'm feeling really good about that. How is everybody else? John was already at a 1. Jacqueline, did it come down again? Okay, so now it's come down to a 1, and or Jacqueline's at a 2, and Paul's at a 1. So great. All right. All right. So I can send you those points again, and so you'll have that. That gives you an example of how to use this modality. So it's an example of how negative energy or trauma is stuck in the body, or what we call our energy field. So the next question I want to ask is, do any of you have any kind of body sensation like tightness, tingling, or a pain in the body? As I was doing this, I am noticing a huge pain right in the back of my shoulder blades. Now, a lot of times that area is bladder meridian. And so I'm just noticing that. Now, I do have to say that this particular trauma, and tears are coming, so bear with me. This particular trauma is where I'm going to have to shoulder something on my back and carry it. So that's why that's coming up for me. All right, so Jacqueline, you're ready? Yes. Okay. And can you give me kind of, Jacqueline, a particular point of reference on where that is? And then Paula and John, if you have any specific place that you're noticing any kind of tightness or anything like that, let me know. Okay, so Paula says, I always want to eat. That's I find nervous eating. Okay, yeah. I find I like chocolate at that point in time, so I totally get that. Chocolate, I know that a lot of times, they say that when you eat some kind of caffeine, it revs you up, but there's a lot of times people it calms them down. Okay, so like seeds or something, you're much more healthier. You like to eat seeds. I'm the chocolate girl. All right, so okay, so Jacqueline says also between the shoulder blades, and it's always there. Often feels like a foot in my back. Okay, so again, that area is a lot of times the bladder meridian, so your bladder's you're irritated, and each organ sometimes represents an emotion. So like, you know, liver, let's say anger, you know, bladder's kind of being pissed off. So we're also aware of what those organs represent. Let's see. So John says some pressure on the chest due to an unknown future. Okay, yeah. So the heart's involved and just the unknown there. Okay, so this is how that whole energy kind of gets stuck sometimes in our body and tissue. And so a lot of times people get massages to get rid of that out of the body. So here's a little technique that you can do to help with that. Okay. Now this one is a little more complicated. So the other one was just pressure points, but this is an example of a way that you can clear sometimes those kind of pressures on the body. And sometimes they're more complicated than this, but I do find it's helpful to know this. Okay, so it's called our QT release. Okay. And a lot, okay, so that's the next point. All right, so mine, like I said, is in the middle of my back. So think about where that is. Okay, so then we're going to tap side of hand, under nose, and side of hand. Okay, and then so that unreverses it, and then to putting it back into non-parasympathetic recovery. So it's in balance again. So you take your hands and you run it over the top of your skull. A lot of times I just kind of reach back as far as I can do and go all the way down to the top collarbone. So the end of the spinal cord. There you go. And then you tap above the ears. So it's in the two hemispheres of the brain. So you're kind of like reconnecting that. Right? Then this is where I would have to send you something, but there's different organs involved in with the pressure points like that. So we have MOG, cerebellum, amygdala, hippocampus, motor, it's kind of like premotor, association, pons, cerebellum, heart, and then we are limbic, like the thyroid throat chakra. You have the belly spot, which a lot of times is the solar plexus, and then you have the pelvis and the tailbone. And then I this running your hand over your arm is like softening everything, or almost like reconnecting something. And then we tap above the ears. So it's almost like you're just kind of reconnecting all the cortical contacts in your body. Okay. The other thing that we do is we kind of say, okay, everything that we're feeling, we're clearing it. And I always kind of do a lock and key, you know, where I'm kind of like, almost like a connection, clearing that lock and key with all non-physical fields. So anything that's emotional, beliefs, intentions that are kind of stuck in that field. We don't even have to identify what they are. We're just saying if they're there, we're going to release them. And we're not going to carry these on our back or on our heart anymore. We're going to release them. Okay. So I did that kind of slow. I'll go through it again because, like I said, that is more technical. Okay. So again, side of hand, under nose, side of hand, and our head all the way on the back, all the way down the tailbone, tapping up the ears. Now, and doing the brain engines, and so I just kind of do a sweep like that, and then sweep down the front of the, you know, that's how quickly we do it. And it's just that's why I went through the points, so you can kind of be aware that you're just kind of touching all those points that we have on the body to clear that, and then lock and key with all non-physically attached fields. And I just kind of like I do that to kind of send them away. and then we're tapping above the ear. The last part of this, okay, so I did all that, but I'm also thinking about that trauma code that we just did. And instead of reading all those points by tapping again, I actually take my finger emotionally, you can do it physically, but I'm running down those points again. And, you know, we can run it down 5 times, 7 times or more. And we'll just say, okay, we've connected all these points that we've just talked about, and now we're releasing that from the trauma code. Okay. All right, so checking in again, for me, that area probably gone from, I didn't really give it a number before because that's kind of a little different, but the intensity of what I was feeling was probably at a 7, and now I would say it's about at a 2.5. Okay, so let's check in with we haven't, so you're, Paula, you may have been kind of like connecting in with the stomach area because you talked about eating. Okay, and then Jacqueline was between the shoulder blades, and then we have the heart. Okay, so John said it's much less now. Paula says it's a 6 and a 7. So you guys still have a higher level of those, the pain and where that's at. So let's specifically kind of thinking. So Paula, we're thinking about kind of stomach. And because we do muscle testing, should we be concentrating on the stomach? Is there someplace else? I'm also going to pull in the pituitary gland, which is right there on your palm of your right hand. Okay, so and that's a lot of times if that's in kind of flight or flight, I find you'll eat a little bit more on that. Okay, okay, and Paula says the brain dopamine. Good point on that. Great. Okay. All right, and so Jacqueline was the shoulder blades, and so we're just aware of that. Okay, since I've been talking, it's been kind of going up to about a 4, so it's definitely risen. Okay, so let's go ahead and just kind of think about those areas. Okay, side of hand, under nose, side of hand. Think about the whole, bring it back in parasympathetic recovery. Okay. Bring it back on all the brain engines. Okay. We're in lock and key with all non-physically attached fields. And then we're just thinking about running our finger over the trauma code. And because we've kind of got some higher numbers there, I think it would be appropriate for all of us to kind of run through the trauma code again. So eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit, and collar. Now mine has dropped tremendously doing just that last part at the end there. How is everybody doing? Do we need to run through that again? Let me know what your numbers are or how that intensity is there. Okay, so Jacqueline's still at a 6. Okay, one more time for 3. Great. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that now. And with Jacqueline's, let's just say, okay, Jacqueline says she thinks her ribs are out. Okay, so let's just kind of think about those ribs. And sure enough, they don't test very good. So because of that, let's just kind of specifically on Jacqueline, we're thinking about those ribs, and we're going to pull in unilateral muscle, which means that the left and right side of your body are balanced. And so if those are out, that usually indicates you do need a chiropractor appointment, or you get headaches, or that there's just an unalignment that the body needs to put back on balance, and that the organs on either side of your body, and it could be ribs and tissue and all that other stuff, is not in balance. So we're going to connect those, just tap them in. Okay. All right, thinking about those areas, go ahead and tap. Side of hand, under nose, side of hand, bring it back in parasympathetic recovery. Okay, putting back on all the brain engines. We're going to lock and key with all non-physically attached fields. Eyebrow, index finger, little finger, side of hand, eyebrow, under eye, middle finger, side of hand, index finger, outside of eye, armpit, and collar. Okay, so mine has gone down to about a 1 on that. Okay, so thinking about those ribs are testing better for you, Paul, Jacqueline. Okay, and so Paula, hopefully that's reduced. Okay, so Paula's at a 0, and Jacqueline is you say yes, so I assume that that's lower, so that's great. Okay. All right, so that's an example of where we have energy that's stuck in our body. So it's another way of helping with that. One of the last, okay, so Jacqueline says she's at a 4. Okay, just double check here. Just go back up. I just want to double check. Okay, so Jacqueline also had behind the shoulder blades. I just want to make sure. Okay, so I'm just going to test that really quick for you. So thinking about where I got my hand kind of on my back, where those shoulder blades are. And it's funny because if I test, like if I say, okay, for me, it's fine. If I touch them and think of you, Jacqueline, I can feel your 4. Okay, so I can feel the energy there. And that's why when we work with people, we can tell. Okay, so want to find out what's holding there. Okay, an emotion, a frozen emotion, a blocking belief, punishing belief, and intention. Okay, so this is a really good example. So a lot of times I use this with headaches, but this is a great example of using this there. So I'm touching that area. And we're just aware, okay, if we think about where it hurts, what emotion or thought comes to mind? Okay, just going to dial in on what that is. Now I'm getting fear and frustration. There's also an intention. I feel like weeping, okay. Fight or flight, okay. There's an intention. We have lists of these different, like the beliefs and things like that, that we have gathered through the years. And so an intention is almost like a commandment that we live by, or maybe something that's gotten a little more cemented. So let me see what this is. So I get remain dependent. Okay, so you think about what we talked about. You know, I'm dealing with something where I'm having to hold on and put somebody on my back and carry them. Well, that may be the thing that you want to remain dependent. And what we really want to do is say, okay, let me throw this off. You know, this is not my burden to take. This is their burden. And it doesn't mean we don't love them. It doesn't mean that we don't want to help them through the situation, but we're reaping what they're sowing. And that's not the way God set it up in the Bible. We need people to reap what they sow. We can help them through it. We can love them through it, but it's not our job. Okay. So Jacqueline does say anger. Okay, so we're going to throw that off and just say, okay, we're going to lovingly help them, but we're not going to carry it. Okay, so thinking about that area. So that's testing a little bit better. So I'm going to run through one more time. Okay. And I'm just going to do it kind of quick. Like I said, I'm just kind of, I find anywhere to run to just do the trauma treatment. Like I said, I'm just running my finger over it. And I've done it so many times, it's like it's in your mind to do. Just kind of check in and see where you guys are at. Okay, so Jacqueline talks about we want to depend on them. Okay, so Paula says that's clear. Okay, Jacqueline says it's a 3, so that's good. Are you still feeling a place that's holding a specific, or that's tight, Jacqueline? Is there something that you can feel there that you're aware of? Or is it just kind of all over, or? Shoulders and chest. Okay, we're thinking about the chest and shoulders. I'm going to touch both of those areas. If you have another intention that you're holding both of those places. To avoid your emotions. Okay, so and sadness. Okay. So again, I'm just running my finger over that trauma code, letting that go. How is that now for you, Jacqueline? It's testing pretty good over here, so hopefully that's good for you. So how we use this technique is to find the different root causes of your health issues. She says it's better still, but there's still some discomfort there. Okay. Let me just think about something. Think about the spinal segments. So 5 and 6 and 7 are out. Okay. And let's see. We have a sheet that shows which organs those are. So 5, 6, and 7 are liver, stomach, and pancreas. Okay. About those, I'm going to go ahead and put those back on. All right, so hopefully that helps kind of clear, you know, there's a lot of times there's lots of layers to those onions and why we held on to those and why we keep them. And so what we're doing is we're clearing layer by layer as we get closer to that. So how we use this technique is to find the root cause of your health issue. So we use the same technique to help you clear different viral frequencies, bacterial frequencies, toxins like food and mold and inhalants that are in the body or the body's energy field affecting its health. And we help your body recognize that it's divine intelligence for healing. We believe that what the body can see, it can heal. And so we're revealing to it what's going on. And why is there energy stuck here and that you're feeling this? You know, why you know, are you carrying it on your shoulders? And so and that's why I say communicating or listening to the body helps us know what we need to work on and what we need to let go of. So sometimes we have so many toxins in our lives that our cells have a hard time being in a healthy state. So I'd like to open it up for questions. Maybe we can kind of having a dialogue through chat. But if there's some question that you have about something that we've done today, you know, please let me know. You can let me know in chat, or you're always welcome to you know, take it off mute and then you can ask me.
So Jody?
Yes.
Hello, this is Jacqueline.
Yes.
Okay, so when you have a trauma code, we used to have it written down on a piece of paper and run our fingers, but you have it in your head, or you imagine this on your hand and you run across your hand. That's what you're doing.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have mine on a little, you know, a card right here. It's hard to see, but yeah, it's on the card and I'm just running my finger around. But like I said, when I'm working with people, I'm thinking of the same card and just running my finger down those treatment points.
Yeah.
Just all those points on the body. Yeah. My back's tired because I've also been riding a car for quite a long time. So. Anybody else have any questions? Let's see here. All right, so one of the other things that I didn't bring up today that is also helpful is doing our best in between the times that we're dealing with situations, helping our body to be able to be in a calm state. And one thing that I have found to be helpful is Nirvana Life Wave patches. And it's a patch that you wear. I pulled this one out and I only have, I don't have any patches here, but let me see if anyway, it's a round disc that has nano crystals at the center of it. And it's on a actually I have one here. So it looks like this, and it kind of has a sticky on the back of it. And we have found that if you place it on certain places on your body, which is those meridian points or the acupressure points, acupuncture points, they not only help the light from, and your body gives off an infrared, and so it kind of activates it, and so it's able to help the nanocrystals to help bring balance to the body, but also helps the acupressure point that you're putting on to bring back in balance. So you're kind of getting dual. And we find that when you do that, through the times that you're having a trauma, it helps you be able to calm more. And so I've used this particular patch right on my thyroid, right about here. And it helps the body be able to calm the thyroid, be in a calm state during the times that, you just, living your day and things like that. So that's a really helpful thing that you can use as a tool every day to kind of help you stay calm. So it's been helpful for me, and so I like to share that with other people. That there's several different ways to be able to help clear traumas.
What was that called again?
Sure, it's called Nirvana, and it's by Life Wave Patches.
Oh, okay, Life Wave.
Yeah,
Okay.
And it's it's a health and wellness company. And so if you're interested, I sell these, and so I can get you in contact on how to purchase them. And they have many different kinds of patches with different nanoparticles that are in a different sequence to help different things. So this particular one is to help with mood, balance. There's others. This one that I had on me was for glutathione, to help increase my glutathione. This helps me deal with toxins. So last night I had to stay in a hotel with tremendous amount of toxins. Yeah. And this helped me not have too many inhalants that I couldn't deal with and have my issue. This is gold, especially taking hotel rooms. Yes. There's others that deal with stem cells. And so you can place this patch on you to help grow stem cells for health, or stem cells for energy. There's another one if you don't have a lot of energy throughout the day and you're very tired, they have a patch for that. So we have 12 different patches for different things, and I have found them to be very beneficial for just filling those gaps.
Is your contact info on the QT website if I want to send you to get info about that?
I would go ahead and enter your email in the chat.
Okay.
And that way I can send you the information on that. Yeah. So yeah, so if you want to, so I have a mastermind that goes a little bit more in depth to this way of doing the this kind of trauma technique. And so if you want to learn more about that mastermind, you can write trauma in the chat and I can send you the information for doing that mastermind. We also have basic quantum techniques codes that can help with clearing bacterial frequencies, fungal frequencies, also ingestants and inhalants and contactants. And so if you would like some of those basic QT codes to kind of help if you come in contact with some, in fact, we have one for injectants, and I was working on my yard on Saturday and I had 2 ant bites. So they help with those injectants. All right, so if you want that, you're certainly welcome to put QT codes in the chat, and I can send you that. And we went through, the trauma sequence. And so if you'd like me to send you the trauma sequence written out, I can certainly send that to you. So what I do here at Quantum Techniques, and I hope I've kind of made it clear, is I help people get their energy back. I find that root cause of their health issue and what that is. And so we find out if it's based in, an emotional issue, or if it's based in a physical issue, and it could be both. So, and a lot of times it is. And so then we muscle test to find out what are the toxins that are impacting the body. What if, maybe you're taking in some kind of ingestant that is making you have more anxiety and more stress. So you think about how sometimes corn will add to anxiety, and so you're not able to process thoughts very well. I literally just found it's not a barbecue sauce, but it was a buffalo sauce that every time I would eat it, it would just make my mind race. And I realized, oh, that's what's causing it. So I can, not take that in my body, and then I don't have that. So it's really helpful to know how the body responds to different substances that we put into it. So I help people with non-healing issues. And, the ones where the doctor goes, I don't know, maybe it's in your head. And you're like, no, I know it's something more than that. I know it's got to be there. And the answers are there. And that's what I love, is I help people find the why. Why is this happening? What's the root cause? How can you get your body back in balance? So we identify emotions and beliefs that are blocking happiness. So I'd love the opportunity to work with you or someone that's struggling in trying to get their health and happiness back. And so I offer a 60 minutes of one-on-one counseling for $300 to help people find that answer, find out what toxins are bothering them, what pathogens are bothering them, and really what emotions and beliefs, like we kind of talked about here, that are kind of stuck in the tissue that's not letting it leave. So we discover all that to give you a good baseline of where to work from. And what I love about it is that when you get that baseline, then it's like, oh, okay, now I know what I need to do. I know what I need to work on. And so you start getting clarity. You have energy to be able to do what you're going to do to help you get well. And you have the energy to do it. And then you feel peace, because you're on the right track to getting back to your health and happiness. So I'd love to stay connected with you guys, and help, I send out a newsletter each month to, talks about different videos that is helpful. And so you're welcome to send me, an email about wanting to be on my newsletter. And I like I said, I get so many newsletters, and I'm like, okay, one a month is good. I don't need that much. But I also have a Facebook group called Health Puzzle Academy, that we kind of cover different health issues and topics to help you have your health back. And then I have a YouTube channel that I have lots of different ideas on how we've used this modality to help different things. And it can be from anxiety to depression. It can be from weight tips to travel well. And there's just a huge variety. How to get stains out of clothing without using a lot of chemicals. It's a big variety. So lots of things. So but yeah, so I just appreciate everybody being here today, and just didn't know if you had any questions. I'll kind of look through the chat here, so we have more. So yeah, so John, I will send you, let's see. Yeah, so you wanted the life wave. Let me just, all right, and then Jacqueline, you wanted the QT codes and the trauma codes. Great. All right. Okay, and so John's saying he purchased the truth techniques and the universal codes. That's great. That's a great place to start, and really help you learn how to do muscle testing, what things to look for. That is the absolute best way to get started, and to learn how to muscle test and to know what to test. And it's a phenomenal way to get started. So I'm excited for you. Yeah, so if you have any other questions, you're welcome to send me an email about anything you got at jody@quantumtechniques.com, and I can help you with that. And yes, there will be a replay, and I will get that available and send it out to the people, and we always got to replay it. So yeah, I can send that to you. And it's one of those things you can keep, because you can always go through the sequence again and whatever issue it is, and change the issue and work through whatever problem it is again. And so that's the benefit of what we do. So that's great. All right, so any other questions? I'm kind of up at the hours. Well, I appreciate you everybody coming today, and thank you for letting me kind of be in the moment with some of the traumas I was having to deal with today. So I appreciate that. Much thank you. Great.
Thank you so much, Jody.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I really do enjoy helping people and helping them get their health and happiness back. It's a definite passion for me. So I appreciate you being here today. All right, well, blessings, guys, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.